let's roll it then. In accordance with the open meeting law, the Lake Hopatcong Commission has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof delivered or mailed or electronically mailed to the following: the Daily Record, and posted on the Lake Hopatcong Commission website. Just stand and join me in the salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag
America,
of the United States of
America,
America,
to the republic
for which it
for which it
stands,
stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with liberty
liberty and justice
liberty and justice for all.
for all. Thank you. Do we have a need to go in executive session now, or you want to do it later?
Well, I think roll call, and then,
We'll do roll, I'm sorry, roll call. Go ahead.
yeah. Commissioner Crowley,
Here.
Commissioner Fish,
Here,
Hoferkamp, McCarthy,
here.
Wazowski,
here,
Probs, Steinbaum,
here,
Stevens,
Here.
Tessier,
Here.
Bill Susan,
Here.
Chevrest,
Here.
Gilfillan,
Here.
Hirschfeld,
Here.
Solaro, Senator,
Here.
Zoschek, and Smith.
Here. Okay, what do we want to do about executive session? Want to do it now?
Yeah, so we have
We
Murphy
don't have to keep
on.
Murphy, then we have to keep Murphy, you don't have to hang around then.
Right.
Okay.
Murphy,
so-
you're muted, so I'll ask you to, but we have to enter, just give me a second, we'll enter executive session and then,
Do we have to make a motion to do that?
Yes,
We move to executive session to discuss litigation.
Second.
who seconded
I can put me down.
or Dan.
that? Okay. Any comments, questions? Call a roll, please.
Crowley,
Yes.
Fish,
Yes,
McCarthy,
Yes.
Wazowski,
Yes.
Steinbaum,
yes,
Stevens,
Yes.
Tessier,
Yes.
Will Susan,
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
All right, give me 1 second and I'll put us in a breakout room.
Okay, we got approval of the minutes. Somebody have a motion to approve the minutes?
so move.
Second.
Any comments, additions, deletions? Let's call a roll, please.
Commissioner Crowley,
Yes.
Fish,
Yes,
McCarthy,
Yes.
Wazowski,
Yes.
Steinbaum,
yes,
Stevens,
Yes.
Tessier,
Yes.
Will Susan,
Yes.
and Smith.
Yes. We have the treasurer's report and the payment of bills.
yeah. You all should have the new layout of the way the books are being handled. The first column are all the outstanding payments. They total 13. The first column is the total cash column. That's every payment, which in this case would be $17,351. Of that 17,000, 10,000 and change come from our general operating expenses. And they go over to the far right column, 7,337 of the dollars come from grant money. So I think this format's a lot easier to read and it's a lot more clear.
Lot of good information. Thank you, Mark. Good idea.
I had no idea. Todd and Fred, I think, were responsible. But I think it's a great idea.
And Colleen,
And Colleen.
can I just make Colleen and a little crazier?
Uh-oh.
You know what?
Fred, just remember that's a trickle down.
Yeah, yeah. I think this is great. This is what we were looking for, and it's very helpful. But what would bring it to absolute perfection is if we could somehow have a column of the budget for the year. For instance, when I look at this now, we're a little bit beyond our halfway point, and we're left with a certain amount of cash. But it's hard to be sure exactly where we are on our proposed expenditures. I wonder if it would be possible to deduct from or show in each area in our budget how much we had spent already of that amount.
That software, QuickBooks shows you that, doesn't it, Colleen?
It has the capability right now. I don't have it set up to do that. But,
Okay. But we
yeah.
can do that, Fred, we can get that. The software doesn't. Just give her a chance to get it.
Yeah, Todd, are you there? What do you think?
Well, we can talk about this in the budget committee. We don't have to waste everybody's time in the general meeting. I think it's going to be more misleading because of the timing of cash flows. But like I said, we can talk about it in a budget committee meeting.
You're so enthusiastic. Okay, thank you.
I agree with Fred. It would be helpful to look at budgeted amount actually expended, left to be funded or expended. Would be a different table.
Yeah, it would really give us a handle on exactly where we were. So when things came up, we could make more informed decisions about extra expenditures or where we're saving money.
Okay.
Right.
So we'll pursue this further in the budget.
Okay. Colleen, I'll give you a format for that. I have it.
Okay. Thanks, Ron.
Okay. And so do we want to have a motion to accept the treasurer's report?
We're going to do the invoices separate?
We can do it. No, we can do them. Let's do them together. Okay. So then we have the bills. Go ahead, Mark. You want to go with the?
There's 13 bills, 11 of which come out of the general operation account, and two of the bills totaling $7,300 come out of the grant money.
Okay.
Come out of
Great.
grant money.
All right.
The only bill I had questions on was that $1,000 for tires and all those auto parts. Is that for the truck we have, or?
That's all for the weed harvesting program. Because we're operating without an MOU right now, the commission is just paying for any of the materials that are needed for the harvesting program.
It could be tires on the trailers, Bob, or it could be tires on a truck.
We've operated with late MOUs in the past, and the weed harvesting program is still paid for expenses like this. So what is the difference this year?
Because they gave us all the money this time. Remember, they passed it all over to us. They didn't hang on to it like they did last year.
No, they still have quite a bit of it.
Didn't they give it all to us, Colin?
Well, right now, we've only received the first quarter payment.
First, what quarter is that? Is that July through September, or is it January through March?
July through
July through
September.
September.
Then we gotta get on to them. We want that money all the way through December.
So they paid us 100% of the first quarter.
Correct.
So we
But now
want,
we're waiting for 100% of the second quarter.
and the third quarter, let's see. Oh, well, yeah, see, that's something you gotta say. They're on a July to June, right?
Yes.
Okay, so Bob's correct, and we want 100% of the second quarter. We're in the third quarter now. Okay.
And now who has reviewed all these bills to make sure they're the auto repair and tire repair bills, and
I
to
have.
make sure, is that DEP that's doing that?
Oh,
No.
yes, and then, so they're submitted from the weed harvesting program through Parks, and then Parks sends them to us.
Is Mike reviews these bills?
Mike submits
His
them.
his name is on most of the receipts, if you look
Yeah.
at them.
Right.
Yeah,
The tire bill seems to be for our GMC pickup, so
Yeah.
that's how I read it.
Okay, I'm just wondering, want to make sure someone's looking at them
yeah.
No,
before
I looked
voting
at
to pay them. Josh is somebody that somebody signs off on those before we get them, right? Josh? You're
Josh,
muted.
You-
muted.
Josh, you're mute. There you go.
Yeah, I mean, we take a look at that stuff before we submit it, of course.
And also, if you notice, there was bills there from New Jersey Wells for some stainless steel work. That was for the some of the tubing, the hydraulic tubing that rotted out on large harvesters. Mike, when we were last up there at the building for one of our tours, he pointed out the rusted steel lines, and it looks like that's what was replaced.
Well, sorry, let me just interject there. That's actually not included in the list of bills. That's a quote, which we've been asked to look at and approve so that it can go through, because it is a larger sum.
That's a separate agenda item, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm. Sorry about that, Dan.
I was just more concerned about the procedure, that we weren't just seeing them and voting on them, that someone was reviewing them and submitting them. And if that's what Josh's DEP's doing, that's fine.
Yeah, we look at them, we discuss it with Mike, and we forward them on to
So
Colin.
Colleen, you're looking to get approval on this requisition from New Jersey Welding?
That's further down in the agenda, but yes, I do have it under the new items.
All right.
So I make a motion, we adopt the treasurer's report and approve the list of bills.
Second,
Any questions, comments? Would you call a roll, please?
Commissioner Crowley,
Yes.
Fish,
Yes.
McCarthy,
Yes.
Ozowski,
Yes.
Steinbaum,
yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
Tessier,
Yes.
Will Susan,
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Hey, Colleen,
Yeah.
this is Brad Hoferkamp. You can put me down for yes.
Oh, sorry. Missed you there.
I don't think in the future.
Okay, you got any correspondence?
Just the regular land use board applications that have been coming through and are uploaded on OneDrive and have been sent out to the land use committee. And then the welding quote for the wheat harvesting equipment, which was forwarded from Mike Calderio.
We need to get this welding done to get those machines all ready, right?
Right. I can talk about it a little later. I did have a conversation with Mike about what exactly it's for, if anybody has questions about it.
You want us to vote on this separately now, or you got someplace else on the agenda?
I have it under new items in the,
Okay, fine. Okay, we'll deal with it later. Okay. All right, any other correspondence?
Did we vote on the motion to pay the bills?
Yes.
Oh, sorry, I missed that.
The chairman's report, I believe, is the next item. We had a little committee meeting last week, and there's three people that we wanted to reach out and get some more information and background so the committee can move ahead. Exploring either that we would plan A, we can continue with DEP. Plan B is we could take over some part of the harvesting ourselves. If there's a plan C, some other phase of taking over the thing. So in any event, we wanted to be sure that if we decided that we wanted to contract that out, that there would be some people at least willing to bid on the project, because we don't want to go through this whole thing and then nobody bids on it. So I was given two names just to check them out. Larry Kovar, I got from Dan, and I spoke to him on the phone just today. I called him Friday, but he didn't call me back over the weekend. So I called him again today and I got him on the phone. And what the committee would have to do with the help of a contractor who does this, and it just is to lay out the scope of the work. Like, we cut weeds, we get paid by the hour, we cut weeds 5 hours a day. It lays out exactly what it is you do in the contract. It's called scope of the work. So the committee would need to develop that so that we could put a number on it. So I spoke to Larry. He's ready, willing, and able to participate in any project should he be the lucky guy. And I also spoke to Jason Hall, who's the guy from Northern Lights that we did this year. Again, I mentioned the possibility that they would use our machines and just provide the labor. That would save us money, and plus we got the machines anyway, and we're just fixing them up, so we might as well use them. So they'll both, so we know at least that if we went to bid, there are people out there ready, and there must be other people too, I'm sure, ready, willing, and able to do this. In addition, I reached out to Robin Madden, acting director of the Division of Parks and Forestry, because I said we wanted to move ahead with this MOA, and we wanted to sit. So she is reaching out. She finally got back to me today, and she's reaching out to Craig and Ray, I guess from DEP, to set up a meeting so that we can discuss what we would do in the spring up to June 30th, and then from July 1 to the end of the season, what we would do there in the event that we stayed with DEP. But at least we want to know we got to get that memorandum of agreement going. So I contacted those three. So I think that we're ready to have another committee meeting about this harvesting next week, because we should find out what the next step is to move ahead with this. Because I don't think we could do anything before June 30th, but I think in a good world, perfect world, we'd be ready on July 1 if we decided to do it on our own with our machines and somebody's labor. So that's all I have to report.
Ron,
Ron, I'm not so sure that we could let someone else use those machines.
Well, we're going to take the title back from them, and we're going to insure them. Remember, you guys only got the temporary title under the memorandum agreement. So they'll come back to us. Colleen's already pursuing us to insure them, because we'd have to insure them. And so that's what I think.
Okay.
Josh, let me ask you, is the DEP gonna be able to harvest this summer?
It's still contingent upon that investigation and what they say.
Yeah.
And then once
Well,
we get that report.
That's what I'm trying to get with Robin, is to get to the end of that. When's that investigation going to end so we can get going?
Yeah. And then once that's done, we still got to have POSHA write up the new protocols. So, but I mean,
in the meantime, when did this agreement run out, Colleen? December 31?
June 30th.
Okay, so it's in effect to June 30th.
It was in effect until last June.
Oh,
30th.
last June 30th. So it's run out now, right?
Correct.
Expired.
Yeah. So at any point, we could take back the title to those machines.
That would be my understanding.
Yes, okay. So let's just not jump too far ahead. So let's get this committee meeting next week. Ryan, that's your committee, right? Let's get that going, and we can talk about scope and plan A and plan B. And in the meantime, I hopefully hear back from DEP and Parks so we can figure out what their plan is, what's the result of that investigation, and what's the impact on the rest of the machines.
Ron, one question, Larry Covart, did he have machines, or was
He has machines, Fred, but here's the thing. In order to keep down the price, it wouldn't make any sense for us to have those machines that are in decent shape now that they're fixing them all, to be there and then renting something, paying a guy to use his machines when we got our machines. All we need are operators, experienced operators. And he said that those machines are in great shape. He was up in the garage not long ago. He got underneath them. I looked at them. He said, they're amazingly underneath. They're not rusted out or anything. They're in good shape.
great? Very good.
That's because they're stainless steel.
Yep.
Ron, what does the title read on those machines?
The ownership,
Yeah,
during the agreement we had with DEP, it says temporarily turn over the ownership to them.
but that's
So that
expired.
when the agreement runs out, we could take the ownership back. They're our machines.
Well, just to split the hair further, I think right now, presently, the title would be in the name of the DEP.
It is, because we turned them over according to that agreement.
Right. We could exercise our clawback provision, and that would require the DEP to transfer the title documents back to us.
That's a clawback position in an expired document.
Well, the document, I don't have the document in front of me, but I believe the title always was to be transferred contingent upon an agreement being in place. So my position is, at any point, we could exercise clawback rights.
Because the commission paid for them.
Yeah, those are our machines. And the only reason title was temporarily transferred is because we were told that in order for the DEP to run the harvesting program, the title had to be in their names.
Right, for their insurance, and they wanted insurance stuff. They were,
For insurance purpose.
yeah, absolutely. They'd be foolish not to be using our machines without their insurance. And look what happened now. Who knows what this insurance, what that settlement will be. Okay. So that's what I have. Anybody have anything? Any of the commissioners want to bring up anything? Yes, sir.
I got one thing, Ron.
Go ahead. You're muted.
Sorry.
Okay.
Anybody else have anything else? I just two things I just wanted to bring up. We have our mayor's meeting coming up on Wednesday. I know Marty's shaking his head because Marty arranges it for us. So we are still meeting regularly with all the lake mayors, foundation commission, dealing with our lake issues. I also did an interview today with two high school students that go to the Morris County Environmental Academy, which is run through Jefferson High School. They're working with the foundation on, I guess, a project dealing with the harmful algal bloom. Did a wonderful job today. They came out with their video camera, had some very, very good questions dealing with the harmful algal bloom. I brought up all the things that the commission's been doing with grants and the mayor's meetings and everything else. I know, Ron, I gave them your information, so you may be getting an email.
Okay.
They're trying to reach out to the other mayors. So if anybody runs into Hopatcong, Mount Arlington, I did reach out as well. And Roxbury, they're looking to do interviews with them. I gave them Dr. Brett's information as the Jefferson Township Chamber President, Ray Fernandez, because I know Ray was very vocal at Bridge Marine. Somebody else too, but anyway, they're looking, to interview some people on this project. So I think it's just another good. It's actually going to be on the Smithsonian website or something. Marty, I don't know if Marty, do you know more about it? But Donna called me on it today. Oh, there's Donna. Donna, maybe explain a little bit more about what it's going to be. The project is part of. Oh, you're on mute.
You're muted.
I hate that.
The foundation received a grant from the Smithsonian Travel Museum exhibit to do a story. It was associated when we hosted the Waterways exhibit 2 summers ago. And the students are going to be doing it, as Eric said, on the hazardous algal bloom. So it's just a series of interviews they're going to do, and they're going to be doing 3 videos on it. One is going to deal with the economic impact, one is going to deal with the environmental, and one is going to deal with the social or recreational impacts to the lake communities. And they're also going to, it is going to be hosted on the Smithsonian website. The plan is also for the foundation, as part of the grant, to do we have to do a virtual showing of the videos in the springtime. And also the Environmental Science Academy with Dr. Fitzgerald will try to do something during their Eco Fest at the high school. So it is going to get a lot of visibility, and I hope for those of you that were contacted by the students that you could spare a few minutes to have the interview done. Thank you.
You might want to give him Dr. Lubnau's number too.
They already reached out to Dr.
All right.
Lubnau.
All right.
Yeah, I'm actually, I found the email that I did not respond to, and I'm apologizing right now and sending a response.
Thank you, Fred.
Thank you.
Okay, so anything else, Eric?
Nope.
Okay. Anybody else have anything? Todd, anything?
Ron, this is Mark Crowley. I do have one thing.
Sure.
As you're aware, last July, I talked about doing a plaque for Curtis Mulch. I am back working on that, trying to finish it off for the spring.
Yeah.
I want to thank Marty for helping me with it. And Marty, I'm going to ask you if you're having a mayor's meeting. I know our mayor will not be attending. He's got some personal business, but I would like to get some concurrence from the different mayors on it. I talked about the commission and of course the foundation and the DEP. If we can get everybody's name on the plaque, I would love to do that. I'm working on the wording on the plaque, and Marty's helping me to pick out that plaque. But I'm hoping to be able to do that sometime in the June, July timeframe, once COVID kind of allows us to go ahead and meet and put a plaque. The family also asked if it would be possible to put the plaque at Lee's Marina. So I've reached out to Morris County, and Dave Helmer said that would be fine. So I have to send a letter just, requesting that once we have the wording. I know Josh and others would like to see the wording. So I'm hoping by next month we have the wording for everybody and what the cost is going to be for it.
Great. Okay, anyone else? Okay, the Lake Hopatcong Foundation. Marty, you're up.
Thank you. Good to see everybody. A few issues, because we actually have a winter with ice on the lake, and as you've heard a number of stories of people falling in around the area, we've actually gotten inquiries this year about ice safety. So it's something that Donna and Colleen have both helped me with. We've gotten answers out on that, but I guess it's something that we have to remember that, a good ice safety program for us is still relevant. And certainly it looks like by the time this week's finished, Fred may even be out there on his ice boat if he can get through the snow. On the advocacy front, we continue. Our real main initiative right now is to get that funding in place, Lake's funding line in the state budget. I have to say that the legislators from the 24th, 25th, and 26th district have been really solid helping us with it. And we've also even had help from across the aisle. I mean, who doesn't want to support our lakes, right? And it is for lakes all over the state that this money would be relevant to. It's for, the request was for $2 million as a general funding line. Our fingers are crossed that when the state budget comes out, that'll be in it. And we'll continue to work that, and we may come back to you individually, particularly those of you that are municipal representatives, asking your council for support if we feel we need it. But right now, everybody's been very supportive. We've had some DEP meetings since the last time we've met here, and I have to say, I mean, we had two really good DEP meetings on specific issues. One specifically looked at floating island in Roxbury Channel. We had met with the folks in Roxbury first to discuss the project. That's the one, if you remember, is the possibility of dredging landing channel and at the same time using the fill to restore floating island. Fred and Colleen can tell you a lot more scientifically about it. But the good news is, I think we were a little concerned what the response might be from DEP, because it was a lot to throw at one time, and it actually was I think a very good response. They're breaking it down into issues, and the next thing actually is really going to be on us to give them a little bit more detail so they can determine what permits would be needed. But it could be a really great project, I think, for both our organizations and more importantly for the lake, to do some good in landing channel and at the same time, help both from the environmental, recreational, and homeowner standpoints there. So, and also it could be a great demonstration of what, could be done using today's technologies. So that was good. And also with the fountain, we had a separate meeting that really covered a lot of park issues, but specifically on the fountain at Hopatcong State Park. It was a very positive meeting. And here again, it's back on us to kind of develop some items for them, but certainly it was a very good discussion, and I think a beneficial discussion. I will definitely say that's the best I felt about the possibilities of the fountain being restored in some time. So that was good. As Eric already mentioned, we have the mayor's meeting on Wednesday, which kind of leads into what's become a bi-monthly meeting update with DEP on the 23rd. Ron and Colleen are involved with those, as are the mayors and administrators. And Colleen, I'll throw it to you. I don't, there's a Steve Souza program tomorrow night that some people might find of interest, which I guess, I don't know if you've gotten that information out, but I know you could. And also the DEP HAB symposium, people can kind of scratch on their calendars. It's a ways away yet, but that's on March 8th. And that Fred's going to be involved in explaining what we're doing here at Lake Hopatcong. But there's also, Mayor Francis might be involved with the Crescent Cove project and folks from around the state, all on what they're doing with HAB. So that could be a very productive day. So if you can spare March 8th, that's going to be coming up, and I'm sure Colleen will get you the details. So that's it from us at the Lake Hopatcong Foundation.
Thank you very much. Fred, you're up.
All right, thank you. So as Marty mentioned, there have been a set of meetings with DEP that we, Princeton Hydro, participated in. I also submitted to Colleen the proposals for 2012 for the long-term water quality monitoring, the general consulting, the cyanotoxin monitoring, and the aquatic plant monitoring. So all those proposals were submitted. I was hoping to have the HAB report complete, but I will have it done for the next meeting. I'm still going through it, and I need to make some changes with the team, some updates. So I am working on that. But before I complete that, I want to get some proposals completed for the New Jersey Highlands Council for some potential projects that will involve some design work for some NIFWIF grants. And Colleen and Donna and Marty are familiar with this, but we've been having monthly meetings talking about potentially getting some NIFWIF funds to implement projects throughout the Lake Hopatcong and Lake Musconetcong watersheds, specifically for, stream bank stabilization and, minimization of nutrients and solids going into the lakes. And as part of that, we're trying to get some Highlands funds to cover some of the design work, which would then be part of the match needed for that grant. That grant is a 50-50 match. They just announced it today. I believe they're due April 1st, but there's a lot of work involved with that, and I certainly want to get these proposals out. I want to try to get them out before the mayor's meeting on Wednesday, so I'm working on those. That's one of the reasons why the HAB grant was sort of put on the back burner for now. The only other thing I'll mention is Mount Arlington reached out to us earlier today and gave us their new contact person for, you recall, there were 3 aeration systems under the HAB grant that are to be installed. 2 were installed in November. We have the 3rd one, Mount Arlington, for Memorial Beach. That one will be installed this spring. So we're working with Mount Arlington on that, and all 3 of those systems will be evaluated this year, which is the 2nd and final year of the HAB grant. So that's what's going on right now with all the activities at the lake and watershed.
Thank you.
Fred, I have some comments for Fred, if I may.
Sure. Sure.
I was able to digest the water quality report. That's quite a document. Very, very impressive work. And I just wanted to, if I may, hit a couple of highlights and then ask you some questions. Some of the things that really struck me in it was that you showed that the water temperature at the Mid-Lake Station 2, was 82.7 degrees in July, which was the 2nd highest ever recorded. And of course, you mentioned this is a sign of of the lake temperature warming. A second point, the water quality the water clarity is decreasing. And in some stations, it's below the state level considered acceptable for recreation. And this is thought to be from increased algae formation. Third, the damage from septic systems was documented by increasing nitrogen levels in those areas. I thought that was quite significant. Again, there was an awful lot on total phosphorus, which is the primary limiting nutrient. But I noticed that the average, which was good, below what it needed to be, almost doubled by August. Felt to be secondary to septic systems, stormwater influence, and extended internal loading when there was no weed harvesting done. And please, if I'm saying anything you disagree with, Fred, interrupt me. Generally, there was very high chlorophyll A, which is an easy measure of algae activity. This was much higher than it needs to be. A question that confused me, Fred, total suspended solids. They remained low, yet there was decreasing water clarity. How do you account for that?
Well, water clarity is a combination of both total suspended solids and algae. So that decline in clarity was attributed to algae. There are other factors that come into play, like, you know, the weather patterns, the color of the water, the physical color of the water. So there are other factors than just the TSS that contribute to water clarity.
Another concern was the brown trout. It seems like they're in trouble. And in July, you stated there was no suitable area in the main lake station for their survival, if I interpreted it correctly.
It's too warm. The water's too warm. It's after 78 degrees. They don't.
Yeah, are trouts able to survive?
Not after 78 usually.
So yeah, I mean, and of all the trout, the brown trout are the most resilient or hardy. And you know, for the long-term perspective, we've been looking at the Mid-Lake Station, and 2020 and 2019 were the first 2 years that we temporarily lost that carryover habitat that's required for brown trout. Now, we still have to look at all the other stations to see if there may be some areas where the trout can survive in some of the coves that may stay a little cooler depending on groundwater, depending on shading. So there may be some other carryover habitat, but we were just looking, you know, for the long-term perspective in that open water at Station 2. And like I said, it was the first time looking at the long-term data that we actually had a loss of that carryover habitat. It was only over the month of July, it came back in August, but still, that's another indication of how climate change is affecting the lake.
So is anybody catching trout in our lake anymore?
Well, I mean, that's a good question. We should ask the Knee Deep Club, and if DEP has data. I do know that they stock it with brown trout on a routine basis, but I think that may be an excellent, maybe a 5-minute, 10-minute presentation from the Knee Deep Club. I'd love to hear from, you know, some like Mr. Clancy and find out, you know, how they have been in terms of capturing trout.
I mean, this is another concern about our water quality. And another point, the two areas of the lake with the least acceptable water quality was the northern Woodport Bay Station and the Crescent Cove. They're the two worst. And you know, we're very aware of Crescent Cove, but it makes you wonder more about northern Woodport Bay and what's happened there.
The quarry.
Another point, you mentioned about adding a station in Landing Channel, and I would agree. I think that's very important. We have a marina there. We have one of the most active beaches there that has swarms of people on it all summer. I would encourage that you plan on that going forward. Especially we have a floating island in there now, We have a lot of homes, and then we have areas of that are wild yet. So it's a very interesting place. Another interesting thing, that the results of the circulation pumps in Crescent Cove are really equivocal at this point. There some things that were unsuspected, I think, that you found. It's probably much too soon to know how effective they are. And this leads to my major point here, and my major question for you is stormwater management. We know that Dan and you can talk about this, that many mitigating systems were put in by the towns under the DEP's guidance and Princeton Hydro's guidance, I should say, under various grants and early commission funding. And we were told that many of these are not being maintained the way they're supposed to be. That the towns, the people who put them in are no longer around. The towns have even lost information on where they're located. They didn't have the manpower to handle them properly, to service them properly. And my question for you, is this an area where we should be focused on and helping the towns perhaps get this whole program going again?
So, yeah, I mean, and I can answer that, and it depends on the town. For example, Jefferson historically has been very good at maintaining their basins. So Jefferson's very proactive, and Jefferson is the largest amount of the watershed. And from all the basins and all the BMPs we've installed there, they've been very proactive at cleaning them. And then with the Borough of Hopatcong, you know, we've made a lot of headway and a lot of building up positive relationships with them. So historically, remember, there were issues with those two large systems that the first few years they were working great, and then they stopped working. You know, and part of it was when the recession hit, times got tight, and people were wondering how to maintain or who should be maintaining those basins. But we've had a very positive working relationship with the borough, you know, as part of the HAB grant. You know, hopefully in the next month or so, we're going to be removing all of the material in those two aquafilter units. We're going to be adding the biochar into those units and evaluate how effective that is at removing phosphorus. And as part of that, we'll provide the borough with a maintenance plan associated with that. And all four municipalities have been very receptive and actually excited about the biochar stuff. So we want to make sure we continue to provide that information and education to the municipalities, because they like that product. It's low in cost, and then it's easy to dispose of, because then it can be used as mulch. You know, on top of that, obviously with any structural BMP that goes in, there's a certain degree of maintenance, and all the municipalities need to be provided with that information for any BMP that's going in. But I can say that, you know, for a lot of the municipalities that we have been working with, they've been either historically very good at maintaining those basins, or we're definitely seeing a trend in the right direction. And I think a lot of it was the HAB event of 2019. I think that really helped to push everyone saying, hey, we all need to, you know, band together and reduce the nutrients going into the lake to make sure this doesn't happen again.
Are we pushing hard enough on the towns that to give them help even to get these things done?
I mean, you know, we've been having public education programs with them, you know, in terms of the biochar. Anytime, you know, we have a new BMP that we're proposing, we provide them with the maintenance plan. I mean, we have, for the new 319 grant, there's a small BMP project in each municipality. Some of them are shoreline stabilization. Some of them are installation of more floating wetland islands. Some of them are the Filterra units. So anytime we have a project, we make sure that the town is comfortable with that technology, and we make sure to provide them with the education and the information they need to maintain those units. And also, you know, with the work that we'll be doing in evaluating site assessments, you know, doing the site assessments and figuring out what can be done in any sort of development or land use change, what can be done to minimize the impact on those lots, is something else that will help in reducing those loads.
Yeah, I'm waiting for your HAB report because I think we might have been pretty lucky in escaping a worse situation this past summer than we
Yeah,
had.
you're right. We did. We absolutely did. We didn't have that massive bloom that hit all at the same time and then just persisted.
Maybe because the rainfall pattern was different. We were
Absolutely.
lucky.
Yeah, and remember that rainfall pattern, I mean, it just didn't hit Hopatcong. It hit lakes throughout New Jersey, New York, and Pennsylvania all around the same time. The lakes just went to pot in, that mid-June time. Some of the lakes cleaned up, some of them, the HABs like Hopatcong, persisted throughout the entire season.
And I think all this is really a big wake-up call to show that we have to do a better job in all these things, or we're going to be in trouble.
Yep.
All right.
Absolutely.
Thanks very much for an excellent report.
Oh, thank you for reading the report. I appreciate it.
Okay. Anything else, Fred? Doctor? No. You
I'm
done?
good. Thank you.
Okay. Blanca, you're up.
Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Sure.
Okay. All right. For the lake level, we are at about 7.38 right now to Hopatcong. They did open the gate a couple of days ago, or actually the gate is open about 17 inches. With all the snow, I mean, right now it's fine, but eventually that'll melt and change the level pretty quick, I'm sure. Let me see here. But that's basically what we have on the lake level. Any questions on that? Okay. For harvesting, Mike and Tony there are working on fixing the equipment. As you can see, they need those pieces the welding work done to get that equipment up and running. Still waiting on the roof work to be done to that building. We do have someone ready to go, but the snowfall has delayed that. But they're doing some work around the building now in anticipation of that. If anyone is interested in knowing, the asbestos abatement work is done in the office, but they're still doing some finish work, installing new sheetrock, lights, trim. Eventually we'll be painting, so that's still going on. And the sewer connection project's moving forward. Of course, some delays with the just about 2 feet of snow that we just got, and more snow coming this week.
3 feet. 3 feet.
Yeah, 3 feet. Oh, just about 3 feet. Yeah. So that of course is going to cause delays. But we're working with them. We're trying to remove the snow and give them space so that they can dig their trenches to keep them moving, keep them on schedule.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for? Thank you very much. Josh, you're up.
Sorry,
Sure.
I was muted, but I do have one question.
Yep.
If I can ask. So as far as normally we hear around this time that the vendors are submitting paperwork so that they can, like if it's Aquarius or some other part vendor for the weed harvesting program, are they submitting their paperwork? Is that all getting submitted right now?
Yeah, there's not a specific time of year that we do that. It depends on when they submitted their paperwork prior. It's usually 6 months from that time. So we'd have to check to see if they are up to date on all their paperwork. And if they're not, we would need to reach out to get them to revise those documents. But yeah, usually that's triggered if we need to do something with them. If we need to purchase an item and we're using that vendor, we'll reach out to them to do that. So if that's something you want to do, we'd have to reach out to them to get them to update that paperwork. They don't usually initiate that on their own. The vendors really don't like having to do that. They hate the paperwork. They hate New Jersey Start. And as a matter of fact, so do we. So it's not something they care to do. So we usually have to get on them and remind them a few times to do that. So yeah, Colleen, if that's something you want to work on, we can get them to update that paperwork if it's expired.
Yeah, my only concern is that if we do get the result of the investigation and then there's that internal report that's done and it all happens in time, but then there's some, somebody needs to submit paperwork and we can't order the parts we needed. That would be a delay.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, we'll reach out and see if we can get them to update that now. But the thing is, if it takes 6 months, they'll end up having to do it again.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, Josh, you're up.
Sure. So the only update I have is we're still working on getting the information for our next CAC meeting. We are going to be canceling the February meeting, and we're hoping to have the next one in March. We contacted the scientists, and they needed some more time to get the information for the questions we've asked. So hopefully we'll get that process going again in March.
Great. Anybody have any questions for Josh? Okay, got grant updates. Colleen, is that you?
Sure. I think Fred kind of went over quickly, the grant updates and what we're looking to do with NIFWIF,
Okay.
which is the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation grant was announced today. So yeah, I think Fred covered that.
Okay, thank you. Committee updates, land use. Mr. Tessier.
Yes, sir. We had a land use committee meeting. I guess it's in our court now with Princeton Hydro. We have to select, is it 6 sites? Did we come up with 6 sites finally, I think, that we're going to look at what could be done in the review of them. So I guess Colleen and the land use committee, or Colleen and I will review that, maybe make a time to look at that and get those through the committee. Everybody agree that those are the ones we're going to look at, and then send it to Fred and his team. There was a recent very encouraging review from Mount Arlington, looking at a development application and discussing putting a rain garden in, I believe. Is that correct, Colleen?
Yes, in Mount Arlington, frequently they're asking for some stormwater mitigation when there's an increase to impervious coverage. So we're starting to see that the engineers or architects who are frequently in front of Mount Arlington's board are just putting them in on their own before they come before the board.
Great.
So that's a model that hopefully the other municipalities will pick up on. In addition, we have a draft letter, hasn't been finalized yet, from Ken Nelson, going out to try to come up with some methodology for us to get the applications sooner. So we have more than a couple of days to review them. So that's in process as well. Anything else, Colleen, in land use?
Nothing I can think of.
And all the applications are in space somewhere. I mean, I don't know what you call it.
On the cloud. You're in the cloud.
They're in the cloud. They're up in the clouds, not in outer space. Sorry. But I haven't had a chance to go through any of those yet. But I guess our next important step is to get the 6 for Fred to look at.
Good. Okay. Anything else on land use? Dr. Steinbaum, you're gonna get something on budget?
I'm done. I discussed it when we discussed
All right,
the treasurer's report.
Okay. Weed harvesting. Mark Crowley? You're on.
He's muted.
Isn't that the committee that, I thought Ryan was chairman of that?
I'm not the chairman of it,
Oh, yeah.
as far as I know.
Mark is, Mark.
Thank you, thank you.
Ryan is.
Okay, I'll change that.
Much better. Thank you, Ryan.
Well, I jumped onto that meeting a little bit late, so I'm not privy to as much of what you guys were talking about until the very end. But I think, Ron, you covered a lot of it, right? You were talking to the weed harvesters, that possible subcontractors that we could bring on.
Yeah, we could, I mean, it's a possibility, so we have to sit down and figure that out. So I think if we could do something next week, maybe we can find some time next week, we can do it. My suggestion would be to be somewhere around 4 in the afternoon, if that works for everybody else instead of at night, but I don't know how that, I don't want to dictate anybody else's calendar, but
I'll send out a few dates and times.
yeah, do that. That'd be great. And then the ice retardant, Dan McCarthy?
We haven't had any formal meetings per se recently, but we have been, I've seen a lot of email activity and complaints about ice retardant systems running amok in Hopatcong, for example. Our zoning officer has run out and looked at them. I can report that there's about 7 inches of solid ice in the river Styx, with about 4 inches of what I would call garbage ice on top of that, mostly the slush snow stuff that froze. The main lake froze up about a week ago, the Saturday before the big storm. And with all the snow on the fresh ice, it's kind of complicating things a little bit, because it's not getting the good hard freeze that you'd like to see with no snow, but it's going to be very cold over the coming days. So I'm sure that the main lake will thicken up. I haven't felt it safe enough to venture out on the main lake to check for ice thickness, but we will, I'm hoping as a committee, individually be looking around and taking pictures of any ice retardant systems that are running amok. I would invite all the commissioners at this point from now until the end of ice season to really pay close attention to the shoreline and ice retardant systems and windy days, and where we have one connect to another, and then all of a sudden, where there was solid ice, now you have a whole row of open water. So now's the time where we really have to pay attention, and hopefully we can, with some public education and awareness, make this less of a problem.
Good, thank you. Colleen, you're going to run down the items on the new items.
Sure. So the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation grant, that was what Fred had talked about earlier. We're putting together a application for that, which will be due April 1st. Is that right? April 1st. Okay. We have so through the HABS grant, the commission and foundation are working with Rutgers to host a rain garden workshop. That'll be virtual on March 3rd. And there'll be 2 sessions at 12 p.m. and 7 p.m. Attendance at one of the sessions, and being a resident of one of the 4 municipalities and within Lake Hopatcong watershed could make you eligible for a $450 rebate if you install a rain garden on your property. Lee's County Park reached out and has offered a free boat slip. So I wanted to get everyone's opinion on whether we'll be launching the boat this season and if we should take advantage of that slip.
You talk about the Boston Whaler, right?
Correct.
Well, yeah, take this. It's a free slip. Put it in.
Absolutely.
He fixed it. They fixed it and painted it. It looks great.
Absolutely, put it in.
Yep.
All right. And then the last thing was that welding quote for $6,928.80. I did call Mike about that. He said it was, well, I took notes on it, which I'll have to rely on from memory, but so Marty was able to get some containers. So they would like to have those welded to the machines so that they can store additional safety equipment in those containers. Each of the machines needs some grates tacked down and some stairs added to the nearshore conveyor. So that was the cost associated with that, $6,928.
You need a resolution, or you don't need it?
I have a question before adding things to the machines that are additional things. Maybe we should wait and see what OSHA suggests needs to be done to those machines.
Fred, you need these. We got these free storage containers. I mean, this is minimum compared to.
They're ammo boxes.
They're ammo boxes. All you do is
okay.
fasten.
All right.
Marty got them from Picatinny. Oh, we don't.
He found them on the side of the road.
They
Yeah,
fell off the truck on the way out the gate.
right. It's,
They were acquired legitimately.
I didn't want to get into it, Fred, but I had to.
all right.
Thank you, Marty. Okay. Anybody else? Anything else on these projects?
What's this chloride monitor?
Oh, yeah. You know what? I have a line under that, which made it look like I crossed it out, but I didn't. So through the Watershed Institute, they are running a program where they provided free chloride strips so that you could test water in streams before and after a storm for the impacts of salt. So we're monitoring for chloride at the Winona outlet, Witten Park, Sperry Springs, the Weldon stream at Route 15. So that's not the Quarry stream, it's Weldon stream coming down from Lake Shawnee, and the Edith Decker Inlet. So we're getting some interesting results, and I've been keeping a table of the results, which I'll send around. You know, might indicate, you know, where we're seeing more salt impacts to the streams around the lake.
Can I ask a question? So because Lake Shawnee is part of the watershed and we're the main feed to Lake Hopatcong, are we eligible for that rain garden?
Yes, you would be. You're within the watershed.
So Eric, we should think about that. Where are you there? Okay.
Yep.
Because people could put stuff in right on the edge, and you know, you could get $450 for it. So, okay, thank you. That's good. We're up to the public session now.
Just one quick thing. Did we ever vote on the bill for, or are you guys giving the approval for Mike to go ahead with the welding?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Do you want to put that to a vote, or you want to just?
You don't vote in the head on every bill. I mean, this is operational stuff. It'll come on a list of bills when we approve.
Oh, okay. We'll get it next month. We'll get it next month on the list.
Yeah. You can't, otherwise they can't do anything until you have a meeting and vote on it.
Well, sorry, in that case, maybe the commission wants to establish, you know, some limit to, you know, where they, you know, so this is a $7,000 bill. Maybe you want to say anything over 7,000, or you want to say, you know, what?
No, I think if it's a day-to-day normal maintenance on the thing, it's not like you're buying some new piece of equipment, or you're not doing some major renovation thing. I mean, this is just operating costs. I mean, we're in trouble. If you didn't do this, you voted no on this, you're in trouble with those harvesters.
Okay.
I mean, there's no yes or no. You got to be yes on this, I think. I don't know.
Are you comfortable authorizing it, Colleen?
Well,
if you're not, you call me. If you're not, you call me, and then because I would.
Oh yeah. No,
I wouldn't
I'm
do something for
looking at them.
$100,000, but I'm just this is a nickel dime day-to-day thing. You can't stop what they're doing there.
Okay.
Well, I do appreciate seeing this, just for the information.
Yeah, that's not a problem. When you get the
And
bills,
some of
you can
these,
see it.
you know, I'll just point to last year, there were, you know, some proposals for parts that were upward, you know, I think it was like 35,000.
That's a difference.
And obviously we'd want to, I would feel more comfortable if the commission reviewed that prior to it just being.
Well, if I would say, if in doubt, present it to us.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with presenting that Weldsall bill. I was very happy to see it.
Okay.
Okay, we're going to open to the public.
I have a public comment. Is that okay, Mr. Chairman, if I address the commission?
Okay. You already spoke once this evening.
I'll be brief. So I'm Donna McCallie Holly. I'm a resident of Lake Hopatcong. Hi, everyone. I didn't say hello before. So I just wanted to talk really briefly about the rain garden program. I would like to ask that, you know, if we share the flyer, if the municipalities could help us get the word out on that. Right now, our enrollment is, you know, we'd like to get it higher. We have budgeted as part of that grant for the HABS grant, we can give up to 16 $450 rebates. And I believe at this point, we only have given, Rutgers has only issued one rebate, and we have one in process. So we still have capability to give rebates up to 4 other properties within the watershed. So if the municipalities can really help us out and get the word out, it's a great opportunity, and it will go a long way with DEP to show that our residents are really, concerned about the water quality.
Right.
Why speaking, one more thing, why speaking about rain gardens, in a meeting with Blanca at the state park, we talked about the rain garden at the state park to get that back up. And the Lake Hopatcong Foundation has offered to get volunteers going forward to help with the maintenance of that. So if you know anybody that's into gardening and loves rain gardens, put them in touch with me, because we're, interested in, we want to keep that rain garden functioning, because it does take the runoff from the state park parking lot as well as the roof of the concession stand there. Thank you.
Great, thank you, though. Anyone else from the public wishing to be heard?
Yeah, I've got a couple of comments, Mr. Chairman, if that's okay.
Sure, go ahead, Mayor.
The first is the weed issue. It's concerning. It might be a good opportunity for us again to take a look at another tool called the triploid grass carp. I think Fred would agree with me that in some cases it might be a good addition to our efforts, and instead of just concentrating on one tool, I think we're going to be between a rock and a hard place, quite frankly, with the DEP's inability to finish their investigation, and also the any kind of plan that they might have to change the process of harvesting weeds. I think it might be a good opportunity to suggest to the state again that they allow us a trial program, or pilot program, if you will, to pick any part of the lake where the triploid grass carp might be an effective tool. It's a good start.
Colleen, could we, and if everybody's in agreement, we could draft up a letter and put in another request? I mean, the last time we went down there, they weren't very receptive, or they weren't receptive at all. But I don't have any objection to go take another bite at the apple,
Yeah, well, these are different times and everything changes. So it's the situation now is not like it was.
Yeah,
the lake is changing. The environment's changing. When it comes to the trout, I believe that we need to take a good, long, hard look at the 500 or 600 acres of the lake. After 20 feet, there's no oxygen, and it is cooler water. So we might want to take a look at getting some oxygen or some circulation, some air down with some bottom diffusers in the deep part of the lake, and just address that. We can't do it all at once, but we can certainly start. I will get to you the final report on Crescent Cove. I don't think all of you got that report. It's done by a third-party lab. We did see some results. Hopefully this year, when we turn the air on March 1st, by July, we should see a big difference. And remember, aeration is slow and steady wins the race. It is not instant. This is long-term, but we need to start, and we have. I'm encouraged by seeing the aeration over in Mount Arlington and other places. You will see it will pay off in big dividends as the years go by. Maybe not tomorrow, but in the future it will.
Good.
So we need to take a look at that and start fixing our lake. We're working really, really hard. At least I can speak for the borough on the stormwater and on the chambers and taking 40 septics offline. The problem, I was hoping to have that done by now, but there was no 2.5-inch PVC pipe available in the country, and we're having it manufactured for our project by the manufacturer. So hopefully within the next month or so, we'll get the necessary pipe. And that's the only pipe you can use, by the way, because of the pressure with the grinder pumps. But we will intend to keep doing that. But the point I'm making is that we have to keep on with the lake itself. We're going to do all that, and as we should. I'm looking forward to Witten Park. That's a wonderful opportunity, and you will see a remarkable difference to the quality of lake in Byram Cove as we do that. It's going to make a difference, and it does. but still, we have a pond that's sick, and we need to keep fixing our pond also. And so we can't lose sight of that fact. I mean, we need to put it all together. I'll work very hard on any issue that I can. But getting some aeration in the deep part of the lake is going to be critical. It's not, we don't have to do the entire thing, but just start. I hear from the ice fishermen that fishing is pretty good in Crescent Cove, by the way, and from the bass fishermen, late fall, they were killing them in Crescent Cove. So that's encouraging also. So we just got to keep after it. I'll be as much help as I possibly can, but I think it's going to be, we have to take a new look at things and don't give up. Then my last comment would be the herbicides. The state has not said what they're going to do with that. The herbicides are poisoning our lake. I have no other way to put it. And I know that we're forced to do it. I know people are forced to do it because they look at their areas and it's choked with weeds. It's even a better case for us to make with nature's address to this with the triploid grass carp. We need to keep, and if the state wants us to go away, I don't know about you, but I'm not gonna. Our lake is too important. So that's all I got to say, and I'm sticking to it.
Thank you, Mark.
I do have one question for the mayor. You mentioned turning on the compressors March 1st with 11 inches of ice in Crescent Cove right now, and the weather trend being cold for the foreseeable future. If there's safe ice still on March 1st, are those compressors still going to go on, or are they going to be kept off?
As far as I'm concerned, the compressors should go on March 1st. But we'll talk about that. I'll get some other opinion that also. We just tell people to keep off the ice or whatever. But it's important that we keep that circulation going. It's just not about the air, it's about the circulation. And we're turning that cove over 1.4 times a day when that air is on. So yeah, we'll kind of play that by ear, Daniel. That's a date that I've marked on the calendar, and we can put it in pencil if you think, but we can talk about that. I'll talk to some biologists and some people and see what we can do for that. But I'd really like to turn on March 1st and give it a good run and start.
Okay, is there a set time that's recommended to turn it on? Or is it caused by conditions? In other words, you have certain conditions, then you turn it on? What dictates when you turn it on?
The earlier, the better.
Okay, I just wouldn't want to see any public safety issue. That'd be the only concern I have. Because, ice fishermen.
I mean, typically for most of the aeration systems that we work on, they're turned on after ice out. But the mayor's correct. You want to do it as soon as possible to prevent any sort of thermal stratification or depletion of dissolved oxygen. But normally they're turned on after ice out.
Well, I just want to nail this point down, because ice out, there's a time at which point the ice becomes unsafe to ice fish, and it could be there for a week or two. At that point, they probably should be turned on, not when the lake is completely devoid of any ice. So I think this should be, the facts and circumstances at the time should dictate what happens, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
I mean, again, we've been working with aeration since our company was formed in 1998, and typically it's when the water is ice free. There's no more ice, then you turn it on.
When I turn that on, Daniel, if the ice is thin, it'll be open water, okay?
That will open it up very fast. I'm confident.
Yeah.
Once you turn it on.
They don't ice fish on open water, so
No,
that's kind of.
not me. I'll have the boat in at that point.
Yeah, you go.
Hey, Mayor Francis, are you going to encourage the residents of Crescent Cove to not use chemicals?
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I am just dead set against them. I don't know if you've ever seen my list of chemicals that I got from the state.
No. I know you're a big advocate of not putting poison in the lake, and I agree with you. I just wanted to know if Hopatcong had any kind of an outreach to the residents, since the aeration system seems to be working so well.
Anybody that has fairly good hearing will hear me say, please don't do that.
Right.
But
Very
still,
good.
There's still people that don't listen. I mean, sometimes you just can't fix stupid. I'm sorry. But that's how it is. And if the people don't appreciate our lake,
You keep saying that one.
if the people don't appreciate the value of our lake and its health, then, we'll keep talking about that. But still, there's, and what really disturbed me are 3 of the common chemicals that they use in our lake for weeds have the active ingredient in them that Roundup has. And they're putting that in our lake. And I had 4 cops very sick after the harvester turned over. They were under doctor's care. There was no real explanation. I didn't get the right core sample that I requested because what caused it was the muck, not the water. The muck kicked up and they were in there with no breathing protection and they were in the water and it made them sick. So that's a clear message there that what we're putting in our lake is not real healthy for you.
And you can't make a municipal ordinance, Mayor, outlawing that?
Yeah, sure. If I want to
Can't
spend a lot of
enforce
time.
it. How do you enforce it?
If the state gives you a permit to do it, where do you think I'm going to be when I say you can't do it? They're just going to do it. So no, what I have to do is work with the state legislature to protect our state lake. I cannot pass an ordinance to control state-owned waters. Can't. Wish I could. But if I could, it would make your job a lot easier because I'd be writing a whole bunch of stuff. But I can't.
So the DEP gives them a permit to do that?
Yes. And I have a copy of every one that they issued because I opened them. So I can tell you exactly what's going on in our lake, and it's not a good list. My environmental commission has it. At the last block party, there was a big sign with a skull and crossbones that listed every herbicide being put in our lake. So it's no secret what they're doing. They just disregard us. When I say stop it, they won't. They need to take a hard look at this along with the commission because that's part of our responsibility. At least I think it is.
Well, we're as a commission, we're supposed to get notification of when they when these permits are approved. We're supposed to get copies of these permits. And I'm sure Donna remembers when she was our administrator, she would be putting those in every meeting packet when they came out.
Well, the Oprah records, you should have a whole bunch of notifications then, because the Oprah records say they're putting a lot of stuff in our lake.
Do you have copies, Mayor, of the permits that are currently issued?
Oh, sure. And I printed out the labels on each product and also the material safety data sheets on every one. So it's a fairly large packet.
Maybe you could send that to Colleen and maybe we could write a letter to DEP about that.
I've spoken to them personally and I intend to do it on the next meeting we have with them also.
Yeah,
I want to know what their plans are for herbicides in Lake Hopatcong. They try to paint it with a broader brush and talk about the rest of the state, but I'm not going to get trapped into that. I want to talk about Lake Hopatcong. They need to understand that Lake Hopatcong is here and it's part of their responsibility.
Robert, if I can, just so we can table this discussion and move on. DEP is working on this right now. They're reviewing all this stuff, so I expect even DEP is going to have some answers from this in the near future.
Yeah, I've also requested a meeting with the new commissioner, so I don't know where that's going to go.
Okay. Anyone else from the public wishing to be heard? We close the public comment. Is there any other action items, Colleen, that the commission has to consider this evening?
No.
Okay, and I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.